Hello, my friends, and welcome to Tatiana's Coaching. My name is Tatiana, and I am your life coach on a mission to help you find your purpose, identify your true dreams and desires, and help you build a life that is authentically aligned with who you truly are. Welcome. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like you're giving and giving and giving, and you not get anything back? You turn into this yes person. You're always saying yes. You have a good heart. You want to help others. You feel like they depend on you. And it's hard for you to say no. But at the end of the day, you're left underappreciated. You feel like a victim. And when you need something, no one is giving you back. You feel that you have wasted all of this energy and you feel drained, but no one seems to care. They want more out of you. If you ever felt this way in extreme cases or just on occasion, then this video is for you. Today, I will be talking about boundaries. Boundaries are so important. Boundaries ensure our healthy integration and interaction with the world, with society. It helps us respect and be respected. It helps us have clarity in our communication with the world. It helps us um, show what we want, what we need, what we care about, and make sure that the world reflects that back on us and we're not accepting anything less. So let me talk about boundaries like I always do. What is it? Why we need it? And how to have healthy boundaries. Are you ready? Let's go. So, what are boundaries? Boundaries are invisible guidelines that ensure our physical, mental, and emotional well being. For instance, someone steps on your foot. You're like, dude, I don't like it. Take your foot off my foot. This is example of physical boundary. Your body tells you, well, I don't like it. Um, Other boundaries include when someone is asking you to do something and you say no because simply you don't want to do it, you don't feel comfortable, you don't have time. It's you don't have to have an explanation, but that's your boundary. Or in a relationship, you want to have a specific needs met, and you tell to your partner about it, saying that this is important for me and this is important for me. Let's say, like, I want, simple example, I want gifts on holidays. Gifts are very important for me. These are your invisible boundaries that you're saying what is important for you, and you expecting other people to meet them or not meet them, and then it's your choice how you want to go about it. Uh, an example of boundaries would be, imagine you are the company, or imagine you get hired by the company. The company has a list of do's and don'ts. For instance, when you work for that company, you know that you get 4 weeks vacations, you get days off, Saturday, Sunday, you don't get overtime. So there is a list of things you can and you cannot do. Imagine those are company boundaries. So going in there, you know what to expect. Same is with people. When you interact with the other person, they are like that company have set of boundaries which they tell you about verbally or non-verbally, and you have to respect them and accept them. And like, if that doesn't work for you, you have a choice not to communicate with that person, um, or you'll get penalized in the form of a conflict or something when you are overstepping someone else's boundary. Same is about you. You have your own set of rules and boundaries that are acceptable, things that are acceptable for you, and things that are not acceptable for you. And the thing to remember is that everyone is different. Everyone will have different boundaries. And if someone tells you, well, this is so stupid that you want this, or that you value this, or this is important for you, no, that's gaslighting. If you feel that this is important for you, you don't have to explain why. In your core, this is something that you value and it's important for you, and you projecting it to the world. And if people choose not to respect it, you have a choice not to communicate with those people. It's as simple as that, because we have to have our boundaries, and they're there to show that in those areas we demand respect and acceptance. um, so yeah, don't fall for um, those tricks and manipulation when people tell you, oh, your boundary is stupid. It's absolutely not. It's, for instance, someone is having an apple, and it's a sour apple, and the person says, oof, this is sour, I cannot have it. And the other person, for the other person, is totally normal. Remember how when we were kids and we ate totally sour apples and we felt fine? um, so the two cannot understand each other. For you, it's sour. For the other person, it's not sour. And it's fine. Everyone has a different perception. Everyone has different physical body, mental body. We all are different, and boundaries will help us understand how different we are and where we need to respect each other's wishes, desires, boundaries, and um, personal space. Um, what else I wanted to say? Mhm. So now let's move to why we need boundaries. Why is it so important to have boundaries? Um, they're important to have in your personal relationships or at work. And actually, how this video came about, I recently had a situation with a client where the client tried to push my boundaries, and I felt it. And I'm a, I used to lack boundaries in my personal and professional relationships. It took me time to establish them, because I want to be happy in my personal and professional lives. And when my client was pushing my boundaries, I understood what he was doing. And even though I am the person who like always wants to help and I'm passionate about helping other people, but when I'm sensing and I'm seeing that the other person is trying to take advantage of me, that's a no-no for me. And I set my boundaries straight. Um, and I felt that I was even more respected for it. So don't be afraid to set your boundaries straight, because people may not feel comfortable at first, but in the end, they will respect you. So, number one reason for having your boundaries, you will have trust and respect in relationships, professional and personal. Because when you're saying, I want this, I don't want this, don't do this, you can do this, person will first of all, they will trust you because they will see the consistency in how you operate, and they will be already trusting the process of communication with you. They will know what to expect and not to expect from you. And they will respect, because if a person has no boundaries, they become pushovers. And as much as I feel sad to say it, but when a person does not have boundaries, we don't respect them. And I can even say that I have broken boundaries of other people. Actually, I haven't broken them. I pushed the boundaries because I knew the person does not really have boundaries, and I used it to my advantage. I'm not proud of that, but I'm saying is that, and I consider myself to be a good person. I'm saying is that when people sense that we do not have boundaries, it's our natural instinct. Maybe it's our like survival mechanism to get more out of the situation, out of the person, because this is for our survival. And if a person is allowing you, then why not do it? If a person is saying, yes, I have nothing left, but you can take all of the nothing that I have, then nothing is stopping you from doing that. It's not like person is saying, I have nothing left and sorry, I cannot give it to you. Then you're like, okay. Or if I have I have a lot left, but I don't want to give it to you. And you respect that. They're like, okay, let me, let me go look somewhere else. Um, yes. And when we have no boundaries, if you have no boundaries, people will be, uh, pushing and trying to get more and more and more out of you until you finally decide to set your boundary, like what's enough. And it will come to you at some point, but by that point you will already feel anger, resentment, lack of energy. So it's best to have your boundaries established, especially at the beginning of professional or personal relationships, because it's easier than rebuilding them afterwards. You can rebuild them afterwards, absolutely, but it's easier when you show them right away. Yes, so when you have boundaries, you have trust and respect of other people. If you have no boundaries, then people will tend to, even the best people with no mean intentions, they will tend to see how far they can go with, pushing you and getting things out of you that they need. Boundaries, healthy boundaries, ensure your emotional well-being, um, because it serves as a sort of self-care. For instance, for you, it's important to brush your teeth, put lotion on your on like cream on your face, this and that. That's for your physical body. For your boundaries, it's important that, let's say, in relationships, your needs are met. For instance, I was in a relationship where I was long time ago. I was afraid to say, to voice my needs. I was afraid to be demanding. I was afraid to be this demanding diva. And basically, I would say, well, this is important for me, and the person is like, yeah, I hear you, but and not give this to me, or yes, I'll give it to you tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, week after, next Christmas. And it kept being either postponed or not heard. And then I was unhappy, I was crying because I felt like I have these boundaries, but I was not able to ensure that the person respects them and the person understands them. And I was miserable. And then when our needs are not met, when we don't experience emotional well-being, that can lead to a conflict. And that's how I felt resentment, and then at some point I would blow up and resent the person. And it was in romantic relationships, in friendships, where I allowed the boundaries to be my boundaries to be broken because I did not have a clear set of boundaries, and I was inconsistent with my boundaries. So it's really important to articulate what is important for you. Then you will have in all of your relationships mutual respect, understanding. You will have emotional well being, and you will prevent conflicts from happening because once you have your boundaries clearly said and verbalized or showed in nonverbal ways, then the person either respects them or does not respect them. And if they don't respect them once or twice, like depending how many chances you give to people, you can say adios. And that's what I did. But unfortunately, when our sometimes you can preserve the friendship or romantic relationship if you insist on the other person respecting your boundaries from the very beginning instead of not having boundaries, then blowing up, and that's it. Like there's no coming back. If you had resentment accumulated for many months or years. In a professional environment, healthy boundaries help you gain professionalism and respect and collaboration, um, and others. Other people will respect your time and input and respect you as a professional. For instance, one of my colleagues, she is a psychologist, and she had a client who texted her with a question, new client, and she replied video or via audio because she was driving. And the client started flipping out. Oh, well, this is so unprofessional. I am texting you, and why are you replying video via audio? So my friend, my colleague, she said, you know what? I understand uh, you may have your dislikes, but I see that we're already not a good match to work together, so I cannot work with you as a client. So she established her boundaries right away. Or at work, sometimes we have team boundaries. For instance, in my previous job, I was on a team, and we had a new colleague joining where she was breaking our rules left and right. She would, as an example, um, leave without telling us that she left. And our teamwork, depending on everyone to be, everyone working, collaborating together. And when someone leaves, you're supposed to notify. She was breaking company rules, which was not accepted for us. So she was basically trying to get the most out of the company, out of the loopholes, out of us as a team. And it felt so invasive that, our team broke. And yeah, we were never able to have a healthy relationship as a team with her. So this is where lack of good boundaries, well, where the person comes and breaks your boundaries, and we had very strong boundaries in our team, so we couldn't work with that person. So it's very important also to make sure that new hires, if you, let's say, business manager, new hires fit into the team and into the boundaries and dynamic of the team that they will be working with. So when we have lack of boundaries, I already said a little bit about it. We will feel overwhelmed because we will be stretched too thin. I want to say yes to this project. I want to say yes to this person. I want to say yes to drinks with my friend. I want to say yes, 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 because I cannot say no. And then will I find time? I have no idea. I'll just shut off my phone and do nothing, because we feel overwhelmed. Sometimes people do that. They say yes, 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 and then they realize that they said yes to please other people, and they cannot deliver none of it, or just some of it, and they decide, I'm not going to deliver anything and turn off their phone. It's childish, but people have done that. You may feel, if you have lack of boundaries, you don't respect your own boundaries, then you will feel resentment towards your colleagues, or towards your boss, or towards a person in your personal relationships, and it may accumulate and lead to something big, like a burst out, where you say that's it, I'm quitting or I'm leaving this relationship, instead of establishing healthy, respectful boundaries at the very beginning. You may also go through identity loss. It happens, very often happens with women, because um, we give and give and give and give to everyone, like at work and your husband and your kids, and you always prioritize your family, and then your parents and everyone around you, and you forget who you are, you forget what you want, you forget what's important for you. And that's why women, like, very often experience this crisis when kids leave. I mean, it's hard as it is when kids grow up and leave home, but if your life was completely devoted to your children, then you will be absolutely broken, because you will not know who you are and what you want and what's your place in this world, because your only role that you knew was mom. So it's really hard. I'm not a mother, but I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are moms, and in the contemporary world, there's so many expectations from women and men as well. Everyone has to be a superhero. Um, yeah, so it's important to remember who you are, especially in family with kids, so you don't experience this identity loss. It will lead to unhealthy relationships, lack of boundaries, and always feeling like a victim. I did have a friendship where I always felt like a victim. I thought, well, I cannot be happy until she's happy. Well, as it's my duty as a friend to help her out. So I was putting myself last, and I was putting her first, because in my mind, friendship is so important. But it was not a true friendship. In true friendships, people don't use each other. Yes, of course, there's always an exchange. In any relationship, human relationship, there is always an exchange, but it should not be exchange at the expense of the other person. And at first, I blamed her for being such an evil friend who took advantage of me. But then I realized, well, I did that voluntarily. I voluntarily gave away my power. I voluntarily gave away, like, all of my boundaries, and said, just use me and abuse me. So don't do that. If you do that, then people will use you and will abuse you, because that's just human nature. Defend yourself. I'm not saying aggressively, but I'm saying um, you have to have your value in this world and respect for yourself. You don't have respect for you, well, no one will. How you expect to be respected if you don't respect yourself? And being a people pleaser is not gonna get you anywhere. It will get you um, being used and abused. So, last but not least, how to define your boundaries in personal life, in professional life. It's hard. For some people, it's easy. For people pleasers like I am, it was really hard. It's still hard sometimes. Um, but it's a process, and it's a knowledge that you get by practice, because in theory, we think, oh yeah, I will never allow a person to do this to me, and I have my boundaries, and then the next day someone tries to walk all over you, and you're like, oh yeah, please, please, is that comfortable? So um how to establish healthy boundaries. um Well, communicate clearly. Um, in-person relationships, in work relationships, communicate clearly what you want, what is important for you, what you can do, what you cannot do. At work, don't always be a yes person. Um, Say no when you need to say no, and it will not mean that you're a bad worker, or you're a bad colleague. It just means that you have enough on your plate. And I'm not saying, say no when you just like lazy and want to go play tennis or whatever. Um, Say no when you truly cannot help the team deliver the product, where you will be stretched too thin, and yet we still say yes, even though there will be lots of sacrifices in order to do that. So feel the ground and understand when you can and when you cannot say yes. And usually I feel it within my body. If I feel this resentment right away, or if I feel that this is just like not agreeing with me, I'm getting mad, but I'm saying, yes, I can do it. I'll die, but I'll do it. Don't. If you feel that way, just say, I'm sorry, I can't. You don't have to explain why. It's absolutely your right just to say no. And usually people, it's always so funny to me. Oh, I cannot. And then they create this story. My grandmother is dying. My grandfather is in the hospital, and like crazy story. And they're lying their ass off. But and that just they cannot simply say no. And if they just simply say no, I would respect it, and I would say, in some cases it would not make me happy, but I would respect it. I love when people say, I'm sorry, Tatiana, I can't. I can, feel all range of emotions, but I will respect that. And I don't need to hear XYZ why you cannot do it. Be consistent, especially in personal relationships when you are establishing your grounds. You cannot one day let something slide, and then the next day make a scene about it, and then let it slide again. It's like with kids or animals. It's just poor training. It becomes confusing to the other person, and if you let it happen once, then they know, oh, okay, why is it the second time? Is it a problem? So you have to know, for instance, if you have friends who are always late, or friends who always cancel on you unexpectedly, you can say, listen, you did it once, I if you do it the second time, then adios. Or if you do it the third time, then that's it. You have to have a clear set of boundaries, what works, what doesn't work for you, and you have to be consistent with it. So how to define them? That's a hard question. What works for me, as I always feel, if this resonates with me, if does it rub me the wrong way. And to identify your boundaries, you need to know your core values, like what is important for you, what is important for you in relationships, what do you value, what do you need to have in relationship, to have your needs met with your friends, in your romantic relationships. You value your time, someone doesn't show up, okay, that's a deal breaker for you, that's your boundary. You value communication, and people just cannot find time on their calendar for you. Anything that is important, or it's important for you that the other in your friendships, that it's not only you who's doing the reaching out, it has to go both ways. You have to voice that as well. Just think about what you value. Look at your past experiences where you felt resentful, where there were conflicts because of your needs not met. And they will help you identify what you value, identify your boundaries, how people can act towards you, how they absolutely cannot act towards you, and have that set of rules. And yeah, those will be your boundaries, and make sure you are consistent with them. That way you will be giving clear signs to the other people how they can treat you, or not treat you. If you're not consistent, then it will shows, it just gives a wrong idea to the other people. They don't understand you. They don't understand what's important for you. And it's not that they're bad. It's just, if you're not having the guidelines, like in a company, like for instance, a company today says you can have four week vacation days, and then tomorrow they're like, oh no, you can have only 1 week vacation days, and you're ready to do two. So as with companies who has clear set of rules for employees, you as a person have to have a clear set of rules how others can treat you and how you treat them. I think that's it. I hope this was helpful. I hope you're a little bit closer to establishing your boundaries, understanding what's important, what's not important for you, and it will help you create healthy relationships. And we are social creatures, and relationships are very, very important. And creating relationships is work. Maintaining them is work. And if we want to have healthy ones, obviously we need to have to understand our boundaries, and then you will be a happy champ with a happy work environment, satisfying relationships, romantic, personal ones, friendships. Yeah, so hope you found this helpful. If you did, please subscribe, like this video, and share so more people can establish and learn their boundaries and create healthy, happy relationships. I love you. Good luck till next time.